Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. I'm very pleased today to have Rochelle Walters on my show. Rochelle's been managing and operating the indie art houses, Movies of Delray and Movies of Lake Worth theaters in South Florida for the past 10 years. She prides herself on featuring the very best first-run art, independent, and foreign films, and she delivers at an exceptional and an affordable price, making it easy for movie-goers to see great entertainment is her priority. So I want to welcome to the Susan Brender Show, Rochelle Walters.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm really glad we were able to make this happen.
Me too. And you know what, Michelle? You're a person who has been surrounded by movies all for many, many years, and you really understand how gratifying and how interesting it is for the people who visit your theaters. You know, they learn so much from all these different movies that they see. So now, you know, since you serve a smaller and more intimate movie house, the types of films that you show depend upon knowing the local audience. Now, tell me a little bit about your audience.
My audience is, they're sophisticated, they're educated, they've traveled, and they are looking for art house films, indie films, things that will educate them or engage them, get them thinking and having a conversation about the movies that we show. So we're really happy that we can provide that to them.
I'm sure they're pleased. Now, the question is that indie films, I want you to define indie films for our audience, because there are people who just don't go to them. They go to these big blockbusters, and they think that's the greatest. But indie films, from my point of view, are really phenomenal. So what are indie films? Explain it to our audience.
Indie films are exactly that. They might be from an independent studio or a distributor. They might not have the blockbuster, budget behind them, but they have the story. They are usually with great actors that have had successful careers, that are engaged and want to show something with a little bit different and deeper meaning, and just have that discussion behind it.
Now I love the fact that you have mentioned that it's for deep thinkers, for people who want to understand what goes on in the world, the types of characters that exist. Now, from your point of view, you've been involved for a long time. So tell us one of the particular movies that you've shown that you think have really resonated with your audience.
Oh, gosh, there's so many movies that we have played where people have come out from the movie inspired, educated, feeling like they've seen something that maybe others have not or hadn't been made aware of how good it was. We recently had a film called The Last Suit, which was from Spain. And we had the director come in. He introduced the film and discussed it. And it was wonderful. We didn't know that it was going to stay with us for as long as it did, but 7 weeks it stayed here. And it was a film, a modern-day film that was just resonated with everybody.
Yeah, I believe it. And it's interesting that often it's older people or baby boomers or people of that nature who seem to like this. And I think it would be so beneficial if younger people would also find that it's very interesting for them. I'm thinking of ways in which you can just pull them in. And is there anything that you've thought about that have kind of reached out to the younger people in the community so that they can enjoy and learn and do all the things that older people are doing? We've
reached out to the colleges, to the schools. We've reached out to all the different communities and associations. But I think it comes from this generation, if this generation informs and lets other generations know that there are these other movies out there. Now, more and more we are seeing younger people, definitely seeing younger people who are educated and they are interested in what is happening in the world. Right now we are showing the documentary RBG, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg doc, and I'm seeing people coming out for that. I've had grandparents bringing their grandchildren, but I've seen parents bringing their children. Had a young girl here from Boston just this past week who said this is something she can't find anywhere else, and she's wanted to see it. She heard about it, didn't know where she would be able to see it. So, yeah, they're coming. If it's the right movie, they're coming out for it.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I'm wondering, in many of the movies today, you see a younger kind of actor or actress who's involved in the particular performance of a particular movie. Now, interestingly enough, years ago, there were certain actors and actresses from Greece, from Italy, from France, and I think that they were just romantic, and very, very passionate, and you can see their acting that it just comes naturally. Now, I just watched a documentary called Bombshell. It was the story of Hedy Lamarr, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was that engaging to me. Yeah. Now, are there actors or actresses whom you see on some of the movies that you're doing now as good as the ones from later years or years that have passed?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. I mean, we have actors and actresses that really are out there. They have the chops. They have the ability to do these roles that are coming out, and it's nice to see that they're in them. It's wonderful to see that they're there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that there are certain actors that are in the movies right now who are standing out. But again, I remember
one of the young actors, Paul Rudd, who is in the movie The Catcher Was a Spy. It's the Mo Berg story. He is in a movie that's coming out, and usually he does more of a comedy. This is a serious role that he's doing, which has gotten great reviews, and we're really glad we're having the opportunity to show it. We are actually following the movie, going to have him on screen doing a live interview on screen, but a live interview. So we're able to bring different things to the audience.
Yeah, and to the community. What a wonderful thing for them to see. Now, I know that you're also involved in other things such as opera, the Metropolitan Opera, and other kinds of experiences that you offer your audience. So tell us about that, and how successful has that been?
Well, we've been doing the Metropolitan Opera simulcast for about 5 years now. It's definitely popular, built in, so many of the people that live in this community have experienced the Met by going to the Met. They come from up north, and they've had that opportunity to see it. We have opera fans, opera lovers that come that have seen all of them, and they buy the series. The new series for the season will go on sale in July. We are actually doing the Summer Encore series, and this week it's Madame Butterfly. And this is a classic, a classic opera that people want to see. So we're excited about that. But it's very popular, and it's for all ages. It's not just one group or others that are coming to see it. I actually have a young mom who brings her children and is exposing her kids to it now, because she said she grew up with it, and that's why she's developed a love of music and a love of opera, because her parents exposed her at relatively young age. And so now she's bringing her kids to every one of them. And she said they like some not as much as others, but they know the music. They hear it. They understand the passion behind it.
And don't you believe that if you bring your children to experience opera or to experience a particular movie, that it kind of develops for them an understanding of how exciting movies are and how exciting concerts are from an early age. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. And how many stories and films and movies and books have come from these stories based off of these operas? I mean, La Boheme. I mean, we all know the story behind Rent. It's just a wonderful thing that we're able to be able to expose people in the community to this.
Rochelle, years and years ago, there were different kinds of things that happen in a movie theater. There were these little teasers, which happened to be cartoons or different kinds of little spots of information that the audience would get. And interestingly enough, when my mother went to the movies, they used to even give out gifts. I thought that was really neat and very interesting. Do you think that could come back so people are sort of inspired to come to a movie and see all kinds of things?
It's interesting because we've now transitioned to, at the beginning of the movies, to have little mini commercials. This is part of what's happened in the industry. And then we go right into trailers of upcoming movies that we're showing. So we try to kind of expose everybody to maybe some of these films that they might not be aware of, but that they might be interested in prior to the movie.
Yeah, so the trailers are what you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about how movies affect the way people think and the way people, kind of lead their lives, because often movies are sort of a reflection of what's going on in our world now. I mean, all movies that talk about the war, all kinds of things that are happening with regard to our situation and politics and you name it. And do you feel that those particular movies that really give people an idea of what's going on in the world, should they not be the people who read a lot or, kind of talk about these things? Give us a particular movie that you think did this.
So we've played a number of different movies, but now I'm seeing more and more documentaries that people are interested in seeing, that is exposing people to other things that have gone on in the world. But more as well as that, I've seen our foreign films and our whole program with Shelley Isaacs, and how the movie has affected people and then the discussion has affected people. I've had so many of our guests that come to the foreign films love to see a film that is from another culture, that brings in these different stories that are universal. A lot of times they're about families that it could be set anywhere, but when you bring in the cultural diversity that we have from these different movies, I've even had guests say to me, from that movie, it inspired me to go on a cruise or go on a trip and explore that city, or, go to some of these different countries and continents and explore a little bit more. And if that can open people up culturally to things that are going on in the world and expose them to that, that's a wonderful thing.
I agree with you on that.
And the discussion, just to have nowadays, with everybody being so connected mainly by phones and smartphones, they just to have that universal spot that everybody can go and they can see a movie and laugh together or cry together or experience this feeling of I've gotten to see it with a group, so that there is the discussion. And especially with the foreign films, they're wonderful, and we'd like to do that. So,
yeah,
I think
that's
it's great for people.
I think about the movie that you had only a little while ago, like The Post. That's an example of the kinds of movies that you really learn a lot about because, I mean, you're talking about the Washington Post. People don't know exactly what went on, but when you have a movie that explains things, it kind of opens you up to new areas of discussion.
Right.
Now, what from your perspective, if you can name 3 movies, I'm just curious. You don't have to, but if you can name 3 movies that were like The Post, that really gave you a perspective on world politics, on how different kinds of companies are run, or that sort of thing. Anything come to mind just as we talk about this?
Oh gosh, there's so many that just going back over the even just this past year, but The Post was a great movie, great cast, great acting, and it did expose a lot of people to what went on and the story behind it. So many people don't realize what, these docudramas that we do that have become popular now are like a wonderful way for people to understand what people were feeling and going through and emotionally what was involved, and they might not have been exposed to it. I remember there was also another Tom Hanks movie that we did, Sully, which put everybody on that plane when it went down in the Hudson. So these type of films, there's so many. Where we opened Gotti today with John Travolta. People know the story. Maybe they don't know all of the details and such. But that, as well as the documentaries that are coming. But there's so many good movies out there.
Now, you said that you get all these different movies in your theater. Do you select them, or does somebody else select them? And if they do, how did they, go through the process with us in deciding what is going to be playing in your theaters?
So many times there is a team of us, and all with equal amounts of input as to what we feel will be of interest to audiences that attend here. And so many times, there's the discussion of will it happen, will it make audience engage with this particular movie? Is there an interest of what they would want to see? A lot of it is dependent on the distributors and when they want to open a movie, or what movie they have playing and what is available and accessible. So I wish there was an exact process to how this happens, but we're glad that we do have an ongoing relationship with so many of the film distributors that we can get these movies in.
From another perspective, have you ever chosen a movie and said to yourself, oh, what a mistake I've made. This movie is not as interesting as I thought it was, and it's like the audiences are not coming. Is there been a time where you've made some mistakes?
It happens. Absolutely. There are movies that we play that we think are going to be well received, and that just aren't, it's not anything to do with the movie itself. It's just the audience. It didn't resonate with them for them to take their time out of their busy day to come out and see it. It doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. It just maybe wasn't particularly well received. So yeah, it happens. Look, you try to strike a home run each time, but it doesn't always. But there's not one particular movie that I could ever say we've played that I wish we didn't open. All of our movies we work hard to make sure that we've really put thought process into what we show, when we're showing it, so that a variety of people of different backgrounds will come in and see them.
Yeah, and you also do festivals like the Jewish Festival. I want you to explain that to our audience as well, because I've been told, I'm unfortunately I haven't seen it, but I've been told they're fascinating. So how does that happen?
We have kind of a wide range on this. So we are the longest running, I don't think we're a quote-unquote film festival, but the program that we do with Shelley Isaacs is one of the longest running foreign film, if you want to call it a festival. I don't think it festival, but the longest running foreign film series that any of the theaters have done. He does films once or twice a week here, and never repeating the same movie twice, of always a foreign film. So that opportunity to see so many of these foreign films that will not play because of how many he does is always interesting and challenging, and he has an amazing following. We also have we've connected with the Boca Raton Jewish Film Festival and actually ran some of their films. And since the festival ended, we've ran a number of their films to introduce audiences. We did The Body Collector, which was one of their films, and had the actual real life the story was about a man named Hans Knoop, and we actually had him here from the Netherlands to do a question and answer session. And then on a different note, at Movies of Lake Worth, tonight we're doing a very different genre, which is Negative Fest, which is all horror films for 2 days of solid, brand new horror films. So we cover the gamut of what we can do because we are a art and indie theater, and that gives us that flexibility.
Well, you've given us a lot of information about films and what you show and kinds of festivals and exciting things that people can participate in. Now, not everybody who's listening to the show lives in Florida, but I think it's still important for you to tell them a little bit about where your theaters are located, and if they want to kind of find out what the movie is, how they do it. And then additionally, I always give my guests a little sort of time to say whatever they think is most important. So, first of all, where are your theaters located, and how do people find out what the movie is playing?
So the Movies of Delray is located in Delray Beach, right near the Turnpike, on the corner of Atlantic Avenue and Hagen Ranch Road. So we're just about half a mile east of the Turnpike in Lake Worth, in Delray, sorry. So that's where we're located. The programs and the different things that we do that I don't think we talked about are like the Broadway series. For so many, they love seeing all these Broadway shows on screen. And we are doing American Bandstand, which won for Best Choreography at the Tonys. We're doing An American in Paris, which won as well, and has now been playing. We just got done doing Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night, which won for Best Play. So we do that. We also do the Bolshoi. So I like to think of us as more of a cultural center, more of an area where you can gather, meet other people, have the discussion, see different things, and not just feel like it's only a theater. The Movies of Lake Worth is located at, I don't know if you want an exact address, but it's 7380 Lake Worth Road. It's on Lake Worth Road between Jog and the Turnpike as well. And all of these programs that we do in Delray, we also do in Lake Worth. And we have a great opportunity to bring different things to guests of all ages and ranges, and, help them expose themselves to other things as well as the first-run movies. I mean, we do play first run as well. Right now we're playing Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock and a great cast. And we are also playing The Book Club, which has, actresses that we've all grown up with, like Diane Keaton and Candice Bergen. So it's nice to be able to provide all of this at a reasonable cost and to get people engaged in seeing things as a group again, not just on, smartphones.
Well, I think, Rochelle, that you are doing a fabulous job in choosing all kinds of things that people can really relate to and enjoy. I mean, number one, enjoy. Make their life a little bit more fulfilled by seeing things that, kind of spur the kind of thinking process that is so necessary in our lives, no matter what age, by the way.
Exactly. If we can engage people to come in to see something, they come in, they're spending time here. If it will enrich them or maybe encourage them to do something or inspire them, we're glad they're coming. We're happy they're here.
Oh, that's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the Susan Brender Show, Rochelle Walters. You've been really an inspiration for people who say, oh, wow, what am I going to do today? When I wake up in the morning, am I going to learn something? Am I going to see something that is interesting? And you provide that. So thanks again for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
Back in my day, to become an author, you had to master your craft. You needed a team that you could trust, a team that would never flinch in battle. Back in my day, you would risk losing your rights and pay outrageous amounts for terrible service. Well, yesterday is not today. Gladiator Publishing Company has a century-long reputation for defending writers and readers and winning awards for their record-setting low-cost services and market sales. They are 75 to 80% more cost-effective and never touch your royalties or copyrights. Go with a publisher that is so transparent that they have their contract on their webpage. Have your book treated with honesty, loyalty, and respect, period. Visit us at gladiatorpublishing.com or text us at 417-291-9162.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.